is no one within the reach of my voice tonight who will go home the same. We all will be changed. I'm warning you. You sit here at your own...
The man who technically owned Nigeria, Jaja of Opobo, would have owned Nigeria today if he wasn't tricked. In the mid-1850s, this young Igbo man that...
I've asked a question which has not been answered to date. That how can 10 to 15 white men sit on a table and make an agreement which 54 presidents and leaders cannot undo? What is it that such a small group of united Europeans can take a ruler and cut your continent to pieces? Here we are 60.
These guys that came into Africa to change some things, I believe that they are seen as the people that are sold into slavery, just like some of Africans were sold into slavery that time. Because those guys that were sold into slavery are those ones that are strong. They have strong will. They are defiant. You can't push them anyhow. Those are the ones that they feel that is disturbing the community, that they are going to sell them into slavery. I believe the same thing happened to the white people that time. The strong-headed ones are the ones that came to Africa in search of business. And once they get the business, they will try to connect to their roots, so that their root will say, yes, you are doing well. How far? Let's do this, let's do that. They will hear them. Stuff like that. Yes, the other day I showed some clip of Opobo and Bonny, where they are speaking their native language, which is Igbo language. I understood what they are saying in that video. Then, we are going to make these things very straight and open for everybody to understand what we are saying. Since it is a problem in the other parts of Igbo states, some people are finding it difficult to understand their origin. So, I myself, I am doing the much I can do to, make it clear and visible so that everybody will understand it very, very clear. All right, Opobo, a charger of Opobo himself, that Opobo kingdom. Opobo kingdom is an Igbo kingdom. The original name of that Opobo, King Jaja, is Mbanaso Okwara Uzurumba. That is his original name. And this man is seen like Dangote of those days. He has been the one doing business of palm oil with the British. The British that time that came into Nigeria, I believe, from my understanding, I believe that those British, those, people that came to Africa, that they are seen as never do well from their own region. Get my point? And I believe that that is the truth. These guys that came into Africa to change some things, I believe that they are seen as the people that are sold into slavery, just like some of Africans were sold into slavery that time. Because those guys that were sold into slavery are those ones that are strong. They have strong will. They are defiant. You can't push them anyhow. Those are the ones that they feel that is disturbing the community, that they are going to sell them into slavery. I believe the same thing happened to the white people that time. The strong-headed ones are the ones that came to Africa in search of business. And once they get the business, they will try to connect to their roots, so that their root will say, yes, you are doing well. How far? Let's do this, let's do that. They will hear them. Stuff like that. So this King Jaja of Opobo, he has issues with his people in Abia State, or present Abia State or so. So he left that area and went to Bonny. Originally, it was all those kingdom are Bonny. So, but because, he was doing well and they have misunderstanding with other Bonny people. Bonny people are speaking Igbo too, from that video I showed you guys. So he has to establish his own kingdom, Opobo kingdom. King Jaja of Opobo himself will establish the kingdom so that he will be free and be doing his business with the white people. So he rose through the ranks in the Bonny Kingdom and became a top trader before that separation, occurred. Then he founded the Opobo Kingdom in the 1869. 1869, due to conflict in Bonny, Jaja broke away and founded the Opobo Kingdom. He established it as a major trading power in palm oil. Then he controlled palm oil business that time, which is the major business that Nigerians are doing to gain foreign exchange. Jaja became extremely wealthy by controlling trade routes. He refused to allow European traders to bypass him and deal directly with the local producers. You see, he did not allow them. So this made him a major obstacle to the British economic interest. Then conflict with the British. The British wanted free access to trade, but Jaja resisted. He insisted that all trade must go through him because he's the one in charge. So you cannot bypass him to go to the local producers. You see, that what he's doing is correct. He wants to still be in charge and control his trade. And this led to, tension between Jaja and British officials. Then they arrested and exiled him in 1887. But they did not arrest him like that. They tricked him. They tricked him and invited him to enter a ship. Jaja was tricked into boarding a British ship under the pretense of negotiation. He was arrested and exiled first to Accra, then to West Indies. This was a major example of British colonial manipulation. You see what these people were doing that time? In fact, Britain owed us a very big apology. Then you talk about death and legacy. He was later pardoned and allowed to return, but died in 1891 on his way back to Opobo. Are you sure they did not kill him? Today, he is remembered as a symbol of resistance, a brilliant businessman, a defender of African economy independence. To tell you that Igbo man business no be today. Igbo man business, the thing there inside blood, inside bone marrow, no be today thing. So you cannot take it away from them. It has been like that. So why he is important, he challenged British control before full colonization, built a powerful kingdom from nothing, inspired future resistance movement in Nigeria. So that is King Jaja of Opobo. Let's hear this short analysis of him.
The man who technically owned Nigeria, Jaja of Opobo, would have owned Nigeria today if he wasn't tricked. In the mid-1850s, this young Igbo man that migrated to Opobo, which he formed from the now Owerri region, was the richest Nigerian. He was the Dangote of that time. There was nothing like Nigeria. He was trading palm oil to the British via a company called the Royal Niger Company, owned by George Godey, a British businessman. By the 1870s, he controlled a huge palm oil trade network, which was the most valuable export in the region. At one point, his kingdom was exporting about 8,000 tons of palm oil annually to Britain, making him one of the richest African merchants of that era. George Godey wanted to control the trade himself, but Jaja refused and insisted they buy through him and also made them pay taxes. They got angry. In 1887, British officials invited him for negotiations. He was tricked onto a British ship, arrested and exiled to the Caribbean. After his removal, British traders gained more control over the Niger Delta trade. And when they took him out on exile to St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the Caribbean of today, they gained control of the trade. The British government then bought the territories from the Royal Niger Company. It then created Northern Nigeria Protectorate, Southern Nigeria Protectorate. Later in 1914, these were merged by Frederick Lugard to form modern Nigeria. So when some group says they own Nigeria, it's a lie. Pick 2, the Exile House in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Pick 3, his tomb in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
All right, my people, you have heard that from that clip. You know, sometimes people will see clip and say it's AI, it's AI, it's AI. Meanwhile, there is a message. There is no way you go and bring King Jaja of Opobo now. Or must you call people, live people to act the film? It must not. People can use animation to pass a message. So some people will see the clip and they will say it's a lie. There is a wrong narrative. Meanwhile, you have not bothered to check it up to see how far, you know, whether it's true or not. What I showed you in that clip, what I read for you people is how it happened. That is the truth about the matter. So it's not everything you see. You say because it's animation or because it's AI generated, you say that the information there is wrong. No, the information there could be right. It's not all AI that has wrong information. That is the point I am trying to make. So like I said, those days, these few guys from foreign countries, from the West, came to Africa. You know, these guys, I believe, just like I said, I believe that those guys are people that are strong-headed. They are giving their people problems and, you know, they were like being pushed away, allegedly. Or, you know, they decided to, you know, leave their place to go and search for a better life. So when they succeed in what they are doing, they will now link, and they feel that they need the backing of their country. They will now link it up to their country. And when their country sees that this is a cash cow, man, these guys have found gold, they will hold on to it strongly. They will not allow that thing to go. So they will partner with these strong-headed people from their area in Africa doing their thing to get more advantage of it. That is what happened. This clip I will show you now with Mulumba. They are giving him interview. Why should up till now 54 presidents in Africa cannot undo what these people that stay in the one room, they stayed in one room and share Africa, and the thing is working out for them? And that is a very big question. Why can't we undo that thing that they have done so that we can be free indeed? Let's watch.
I've asked a question which has not been answered to date. That how can 10 to 15 white men sit on a table and make an agreement which 54 presidents and leaders cannot undo? What is it that such a small group of united Europeans can take a ruler and cut your continent to pieces? Here we are 63 years later talking about the Africa Union and Kwame Nkrumah's vision, Kambarage's vision, Kenneth Kaunda's have come and gone, Banda's have come and gone, Mugabe's have come and gone. And what makes it so sad is that during the liberation struggle, Tanzania becomes a home base for all of them. ANC, SWAPO, ZANU-PF, Frelimo, all of them, they were in the same camp. They all were agreeing as comrades, let's go back and liberate our countries. But immediately all of them got back to their countries. They've become enemies of each other. So are we only friends at war and we're enemies at peace? And if we can fail, therefore, as African governments in this deja vu of what we lost, over and above the culture that Chinua Achebe can echo, now we're talking about the loss of even the unity. That became the fuel of our own independence.
But King, you know, let's trace it. In 1963, in Addis Ababa, the question of undoing Berlin was a live issue. And if you look at the early debates, There are those who said, let us undo the boundaries. And then it was examined, and they argued that if we started undoing the boundaries, there would be great conflict because the neo-colonizer is still with us. The same was revisited in Cairo in 1964, hosted by Gamal Abdel Nasser. And the key voices at that time were Nyerere and Nkrumah. Nkrumah believed that these boundaries were temporary because Africa was going to unite anyway. So his argument was, well, these are only going to be boundaries for purposes of administration, and the doctrine of inviolability of inherited boundaries was then drilled down. Little did he know that these were the things that were going to be gridlock and paddocks that would hold us together. So in 1965, when he convenes a meeting in Accra, he himself takes the view, and Nyerere speaks about it on 6th of March 1997. He says that they thought that they would come out of that meeting saying there is a United States of Africa. But the neo-colonizer was thinking differently, and a year later Nkrumah is overthrown. But Nkrumah said something that answers your question. He said that it will be easy to do away with the colonizer as the political leader. We may even solve our economic problem, but there is something that happened to our minds. And that is going to take a little longer to deal with. And he was echoing a statement that had been made in 1933 by an African-American, Carter G. Woodson, the miseducation of the Negro.
African.
And Ngugi wa Thiong'o later writes about it in terms of decolonizing the mind. And I
Brilliant book, by the way.
Yes, indeed.
And I think while you're on that,
yes,
it should be illegal for anyone who wants to start talking Pan-Africanism, for example, who has not gone through 2 or 3 of those books that you have mentioned. How the African,
how Europe
civilized the world. There's one
Absolutely.
also how the African civilized Europe, and how Europe, uncivilized Africa, so to speak. And the Chino Achebe, great work, Things Fall Apart, and Decolonization of the Mind by Ngugi, and Steve Biko also, I Write What I Like.
I think, yes.
And I think if you can put a nice little catalog.
And Antachek Diop.
Yes, and yeah, of course.
Antachek Diop. Really, those must be compulsory readings.
And
to remove, there is also, and there is no harm in that, but there is too much romanticization of Pan-Africanism without looking at the practical Pan-Africanism.
Obligation, yeah.
So I think what those books do is to drill down. There is another one that I would want to put on the list. This is Adekeye Adebajo, Africa After the Cold War, The Curse of Berlin.
But for the lighter readers, of
Yes.
course, the economic hitman.
Yes.
Then you begin to have a people.
Well, you have heard the discussion, and I believe it is not late. Some people believe that it's too late to undo it, but it is not late for me. We can go back and change so many things, cancel so many things that is bringing separation among Africans. We were living in peace before these guys came with their bad intention. Yes, well, I'm not saying that their intention is completely bad, but they don't think like Africans. Africans are too, wicked. Their own, they may be doing some things to help them do their business. Like they will come and tar road because they know that they will use that road to carry their goods out of the country. Just like this, they are good in that. So, but our own is quite different. It's a different level. We are operating on a different level and frequency. Well, let's watch this, and when we come back, we can call it a day.
There is no one within the reach of my voice tonight who will go home the same. We all will be changed. I'm warning you. You sit here at your own risk. I'm not responsible for the loss of faith. If you are a Christian, you are a Muslim, tough luck. I am not responsible for what will happen after this conversation. But I must talk, and if I should write my own epitaph, I can write it with my own blood. For that's what life is all about. A man who does not know what to die for does not know what to live for. So let me die. Let me die. Then maybe I can live. So why can't I play you a song and send you to sleep one last time? And tomorrow morning, the battle will begin. Where Martin Luther ended, we start. Where Garvey ended, we start. Where Malcolm X ended, we start. They almost were thinking like the battle is over. As many of us were staggering in the intoxication of colonization, celebrating Easters and Christmases, Halloween nights, and they thought they had caught us. But here you are when you see me and something in your blood begins to boil. Then you know the African is never dead. It was just a seed that went into the ground. The time of germination has started.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I woke up this morning with a burning desire and a quest in my heart to say a few things, to especially my Ndokwa people, the youths, most especially the youth of Ndokwa. For a long time, you have allowed politicians to use you people to play on your smartness. They have constantly used you people to destroy yourself. But you see this particular aspect, I'm not going to be quiet. I'll talk about this particular topic for the longest, because I believe it's not just about politics. It's not about politics. These people are trying to rewrite my essence. They are trying to rewrite my ancestral affiliation. They are trying to make me a lost soul, a lost person, because a son who cannot trace his roots is worse than a prodigal son. Because the prodigal son at some point realized and he went back to his origin, which is his father. Let me tell you people that our ancestors, I used to think that my ancestors made mistakes all over and all through their lives. But recently I got to realize that our ancestors are very smart people. If you're an Igbo man listening to me right now, you should be very proud of yourself. You should be so proud of yourself that the bones inside your body and the blood and the veins and the water flowing in your body should start rejoicing and jumping, because you are a very smart person. Now let me tell you how smart our ancestors really are in Ndokwa, we from Ndokwa. It is we who are the offspring of our ancestors. A lot of you gullible and wicked youths who have collected money from politicians, you are the ones who are dummies, the ones who are crickets, rats, and cappies like you. You have collected money to rewrite our identity. And let me tell you how smart your ancestors are, because a lot of you say we are from Idu. We are from Idu. I've tried to explain to a lot of you what actually transpired and how you got confused that you are from Idu, Edo State. Idu is just like a place, a settlement, just like we have Asaba, we have Wari, we have Ugeli in the present day, in this modern generation. Idu is just a place like that, where different people lived. So because your ancestors relocated back from Idu, where they were living, only God knows what happened that made them to run back to their ancestral land. You now say that you are from Idu. All I've heard all the elderly people say, those elderly ones who mislead the youth, all I've heard them say is that we came from Idu. We came from Idu. Relocating from Wari back to Kwale, does that make you an indigenous of the Uda? Does that make you an Urobo son? Does that actually make you an Urobo person? That you lived in Wari for 30 years? Does that change your essence? Does that change your identity as an Ndokwa man, or as a man from Ogwashuku? Or as a man from Munede, or what's it called, Iseluku? Does that change the fact that you are a son of this land? Now let me explain to you how smart our ancestors were, or how smart they still are, and how dumb people are. Now your ancestors left you, even though they were intimidated to deny that they are Igbo people. They left you with clues. They left you with things to actually remind you, to actually finally bring you back to who you are, your real essence. They left you with clues. Let me tell you some of the clues. They left you with your tradition first. They left you with your culture first. That's the second thing they left for you, your culture. They left you with your community structure. In Ndokwa, we don't have one person that just says a thing and it stands. It must go through Umuada, Umudis, it must go through Umudis, Umudat, before a verdict is arrived at. The king don't just come out and just say a thing, like they have in the north. A king cannot just come out and just say a thing. This is what the structure, the community structure our ancestors left. These are the things that point you to where you are actually from. Let's remove, we are talking about common sense now and vision. We are talking about common sense now. We are not talking about whether this is scientifically proven or not. No, we are talking about common sense. Now let me show you the one that is very, very shocking. That a lot of you, even though you live in those places, you don't realize that this is the footprint that our ancestors left for us to actually go back to our origin. Now, I'm going to mention 3 communities in Ndokwa. One is Kwale, which is very popular for everybody to know, both those in diasporas and those who are not indigenous of Ndokwa. Kwale is one place everybody knows. Obiaruku is a place everybody knows. Ogume is also a place everybody knows. Thank God I am from Ogume, mother and father from Ogume. I'm a full-blooded son of Ogume. Obodogwa, Obodo, Ugwa, that's where I'm from. Now let's go further. Your ancestors, let's use Kwale as a case scenario. Your ancestors did not, like, I don't understand how somebody can be so wicked to the extent where you will also leave you buy a land, for example, you remove your name from the deed and you put the name of a stranger and say that the stranger is the owner of the land. Meanwhile, you are the one that actually owns the land and you bought it. Right? You will not put the name of a stranger. That is what people are trying to let us know that our ancestors did. If you don't know it now. Now your ancestors structured your communities. They named your communities Igbo, core Igbo names. If you go to Kwale, we have Umu Seti, Umu, children of, I don't know what the other one means. You can look for it, the meaning for me. Umu Seti. We have Umu Sam, children of Sam, Umu Sam. You have Umu Sedeli. You have Afieze, the market of a king, and the rest of them. So you are trying to tell me that my ancestors originated from Benin, Edo. They got here and forgot to name the land, the name of their parents or their forefathers. They now decided that they love the Igbo people so much. They now adopted the names of Igbo people to name their community. Can't you see how wicked a lot of you are? Can't you see how demonic a lot of you are? Very wicked set of youths like that. You go online, spread propagandas after collecting money because you don't want Anyoma State to come. And Anyoma State will come. Anyoma State is not. I don't even care about what Ned thinks. If Ned like, he should drop the agitation. He should drop it. You will be surprised in the next generation. Somebody else will arise. Anyoma must come. Whether the devil likes it or not, it will come. Because this is a deliberate step in realigning people back to their roots. I want to let you all know that some of you go on the internet and you say that some Ndokwa people are unity beggars. Do you know that Ndokwa people, we are not unity beggars? Those of us who want Anyoma State, that yearn for Anyoma State, we are not unity beggars. We are firstborn sons of the eastern region and we want to go back there. We want our true identity to be known. We are not unity beggars. The right a man from Enugu State has is the same right that I have. If an Enugu man is speaking, I will stand up and talk because we are children from the same parents. Let's go to Ogume. I can't remember all the clans in Ogume, but in Ogume we have 7 clans. I'm from one of the clans. Now, the clan we are from is Obodogwa Ogume, right? Then in Ogume we have Umuchime. To see how very dumb people are. Your ancestors originated from Idu, Benin, and they did not name your communities in Ogume, Benin names, they name them Igbo names. Umuchime, Ogbago. That word resonates with the eastern region. Ogbo, like a square of warriors. If you know Ogume people very well, they are good. In those days, they are good with charms for war. Ogbago. We have Igbe, we have Utue, we have different places like that. That is one very good thing. Like your ancestors gave birth to you, even though they were intimidated to deny their true identity, so that they will not be slaughtered, so that they will be able to bring it to existence. They had to deny that they are not Igbo people, but they left you traces for you to trace back your steps. The community where you were born, the water you drank, the names of those communities, the names of the streams where you drank from, they are Igbo names. The names of the rivers where you drank from, those of you who grew up in the village, they are Igbo names. Why did they not name those names? Those of you who are idol worshippers, because I'm not. Why don't you do your idolatry in the name of Edo, whatever? I don't want to make mention of all those things. Let me tell you, I'm a very unbiased person. I'm direct. My wife is from Benin. My wife is an Edo woman. It doesn't stop me from saying the truth. It doesn't stop me from saying the truth. Because this is, people are trying to joke with my essence. People are trying to joke with my what makes me who I am. And I'm not going to let that happen. I will never let that happen. I will speak and speak and speak until something happens. These are the things that point you to where you are actually from. Because you can easily say that people learn languages. We can be in a boundary. Like me, I was born and raised in Ugeli and Uroboland. I have every confidence to say that I am the first adopted son of the Urobos, the first person to bear that title. I speak Urobo. At least 80% I speak Urobo. There's no conversation that will go on between two Urobo people that I cannot tag along. Do you understand? I can confidently tell you that the customs, the way of doing things, even traditionally by the Urobo people, is the same with the Edo. Their language is the same. My wife is Benin. If she speaks Benin here, I grab what she's saying because I lived in Urobo land. These people are from the same family. We do Ndokwas. We are from the Igbo. We are called Igbo people. If an Anambra man even tells me that I'm not, maybe I'm not a core Igbo person. In fact, the way I will take change and for me, the way I will run him down, he will understand that he has made a mistake. Because I am indeed a firstborn son of the eastern region. Geographic location does not mean that I am not from that place. These are the things you are trying to correct. These are the things that Ned is trying to correct. People fought the fight before Ned came, like the Dennis Osadebi and the rest. They fought the fight before he came. Now you can see that Ned is picking up the fight. If Ned forgets this fight, somebody else will arise. That is what your essence does. That is what your spirit does. The Igbo spirit is so strong, you cannot kill it. I'm telling you the gospel truth. The Igbo spirit is so strong that you cannot suppress it. A lot of you heard what happened during the Civil War. Me, I heard it, I read it. You see how the Igbo people bounced back from nothing. That's the Igbo spirit. You cannot kill it. Just forget it. Leave it. Just forget it. You cannot kill it. No matter how you try, it will rise up and speak again. That is the spirit of God that God has placed in the Igbo people. This is just I'm angry in my spirit. As you can maybe you can feel it. I'm very angry. That's why I'm sounding like this. A lot of you Ndokwa youth, stop this nonsense. Stop this nonsense. Stop this rubbish. Because your ancestors actually left you with clues for you to know where you are from. They left you with different information inscribed inside your community for you to know where you are from. But you are true. You have chosen to collect money from politicians and be very wicked and very, very backward. There's no way an Urobo man would deny his connection to the Edo family. There's no way. Even up to what's it called? To Auchi, Esako and the rest. Their language is similar. My sister is married from there. Does it mean that tomorrow my sister will say that her children is from Undoka, full-blooded citizens of Ndokwa, even though they share a heritage or maybe history with Ndokwa people based on their mother is from there. Her children are full-blooded Esako children. Stop, you people should stop this thing. Stop it. Stop it. You are being wicked to yourselves and your unborn children. You are being wicked to them. You don't know. You are being wicked to your unborn children. Let this video do something to your soul. For you to wake up and go and do research. For you to wake up and in fact, it will cost you to enter a vehicle, go to Edo State and dig deep and see that you are not from there. You only lived there, and when you live in a place, you abide by the way they do things there for peace to reign. But when you live there and come back to your home, you are will speak. You don't need to force it. You don't have to force it. Our language is 100% the same thing with what they speak in the East. We only have our own unique dialect. We have our own unique dialect. So, please and please, those of you still have some portion of your brains with you that can still reason, begin to reason right now. Start to reason right now. Forget politics. This is not about politics. So this is not about politics. If any political leader is trying to maintain his relevance in Delta State, he should not use our essence to do that one at all. Chacha, he should not use our essence as Igbo people to do that one. He should fight. He should make the people love him and people retain him. Not to play with our essence. There are things you don't play with. There are things you don't play with. You understand? There are things you don't play with. So everybody should you understand? Make una behave on yourself and have sense.
Okay, we are done with today's discussion, and I believe you have gotten one or two things in this discussion. Please share this video, give it a like, and don't forget to drop your comment in the comment section. I'm still Chinedu. Until I come your way next time.